So let's start with the rapid fire round. The first question is, at what age do you want to retire?
On the other side, I love what I do. So I expect that even retired, I will continue linked to technology somehow.
How long does it take you to get ready in the mornings?
Not much. I do running just when I wake up.
Most embarrassing moment of your life?
There are many, but most of them are in the personal life more than in the professional one.
Favorite color?
Blue and red for Barcelona.
What time of day are you most inspired?
What time of the day? Mornings and evenings.
How many hours of sleep can you survive on?
Between 6 and 7.
Fill in the blank. An upcoming finance trend is blank.
Generative AI.
The city in which the best kiss of your life happened.
Barcelona.
Pick one, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk.
Wow, that's not easy. We'll take Elon.
The biggest mistake of your career.
Whenever I didn't try something.
How do you relax?
I run.
A habit of yours that you hate.
Procrastination.
The most valuable skill you've learned in life.
Respect.
Your favorite Netflix show.
Yes, I prefer a book.
One word description of your leadership style.
Open.
Top priority in your daily schedule.
Family.
Ideal vacation spot for relaxation.
Costa Brava.
Key factor for maintaining a work-life balance.
Being conscious of the importance of time.
Right. So that was the end of the rapid fire.
This episode is sponsored by Outgrow.co, the world's first all-in-one interactive content builder. Use Outgrow to build quizzes, calculators, tests, polls, forms, contests, and chatbots to generate leads and keep your audience engaged. Sign up for a free trial at https://outgrow.co.
Now we can go on to the longer questions, which you can answer with as much time and ease as you like.
Totally.
The first one is, what role does customer experience play in digital transformation initiatives?
It plays a crucial role. I mean, no matter what transformational initiative you are working on, it has to be used by a client. It doesn't matter if it's a final client, an employee, whoever. That user will decide if they will adopt your transformational project, or maybe it's gonna be your differentiator, because that client can choose between your option and another one. So whatever change, whatever transformational project you are working on, the most relevant thing will be how it will be accepted by the client. So it's absolutely key.
And so can you share some memorable example where improving customer experience significantly impacted any of your clients' businesses?
Yes. We work quite a lot. I've worked in my life in public sector and banking sector. In both of them, having little changes on that client experience can have a huge change. And we have quite a lot of examples of the only idea of being able to measure that experience, and this is something that not everyone is doing, gives you the capability to improve. What you cannot measure, you cannot improve it. And for me, that was a big learning at the beginning of my career.
So when it comes to defining and executing IT strategies, for large companies. How do you usually approach that?
I first of all, there is a book from Simon Sinek that it's called "Start with the Why." When defining those kind of big transformational projects, when defining strategies, you need to start with the why. You need to work together with the client to understand why, not what they want to do, but what's the reason behind that change. No single transformational project or strategy can be executed from the outside of the company. So co-creation of that strategy, co-execution of that strategy in a collaborative model, in a partnership model is absolutely key. Otherwise, it won't work. It simply won't work.
And so how do you go about defining this why? What do you do with the customer to find this out?
I think the most basic skill of any consultant, and I consider myself a consultant, is asking questions. There are many people who try to show they know a lot of things. But the most basic skill and the most important skill is asking the proper questions in order to make the customer think, but also in order to get that information you need to work with them. And this is how I get the why. Working with the client and asking a lot of questions.
So in the rapid fire, you mentioned that Gen AI is going to be the next financial trend. How do you foresee the role or impact of AI in the financial services transformation as the industry?
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. I mean, the impact of AI, not only in banking, but in other sectors, it's going to be very, very big. We have seen only the very first step. We have a baby in our hands that will have to grow up. But we can see the potential in creating new business models, in creating new revenue streams, in reducing the operative costs, in at least changing even the regulation we are working in. So the impact is going to be very strong, and we are just in the beginning.
And how about AI influencing customer experience and personalization in the financial industry?
Absolutely, it will. But we are seeing it now. I mean, with the impact of this new Gen AI in everyone's use, the expectation of our clients is to see it in our applications. As an example, whatever best experience you have in any service, it's going to be the minimum experience you are expecting in any service. So our customers, our employees, they are used to Gen AI. They have seen it in their daily lives. So they will be expecting something like that. They will be expecting systems more than transactions. And this is something that will come with it.
And so what about the regulatory concerns here and the privacy concern?
Well, that's part of the governance too. It's not only AI governance, but also data governance. There is a new regulation in Europe, the EU Act. There's going to be a lot of movement around that because banks have sometimes to comply with that regulation, but not much. But they need that anyway in order to scale. I mean, though what's coming from the EU Act is quite basic rules that we need to apply into our business in order to have explainability. We need to be able to explain why a model is taken, the decision is taken in terms of transparency, in terms of being sure our models have no bias. Many areas of the way we are managing AI at a higher level will be impacted. I also expect customers and clients to be creating their own models, their own AI platforms that will be part of their competitive advantage. So not only using the AI provided by technology vendors, but creating their own ecosystem of solutions that will be key in order to define the new business models and the new experiences for clients.
Can you describe a particularly challenging digital transformation project you led and how you navigated it to success?
Well, I've been working in many projects in my life. I have some white hair, so I've been working for a while. I've been working in public and banking projects, but when you manage one of these big projects, the most important thing is working on clients' goods. So understanding that we have a partnership, that our success depends on client success. And when you do that is when you are successful.
And what were like the main obstacles you faced in one of these projects, if you can elaborate?
Sometimes the most complex areas in transformational projects are not usually linked to technology. They are linked to creating the new operating models, to the new organization in the client, aligning the expectations and the objectives of the different stakeholders. So having that in mind, understanding that our project is not a technical project only, but it has a much bigger picture, is key in order to be successful in any transformational project.
So what strategies besides this do you employ to manage and align these expectations of various stakeholders in large-scale IT projects?
Pues as I mentioned before, co-creating with them, sitting down with them, understanding not only the why for the big project, but also the why of every single stakeholder. Sometimes even we have a very big program with very clear defined objectives for it, then you have the other objectives. Every single stakeholder has its own, and those objectives are linked or aligned with that objective of the big program, or maybe not, but you need to learn, you need to understand the objectives and make it possible and have a strategy on how to work with those stakeholders so to make the program be successful. That's the only way. You need to understand them.
So what are the main challenges the companies, especially in the banking industry, are facing to adopt AI?
I think the main challenge is deploying it at the scale. So most of clients have been executing POCs, and generative AI is useful and fun when you have to build an email and build a PowerPoint, something like that. The challenge now is to bring it to the real processes that need to be executed many, many times a day. For that, you need to have your AI governance, meaning that you will leave AI to take some decisions on the daily basis. For example, it will decide if you will get a credit or not, and that decision can have a huge impact on your life. So we need to have that AI governance that is able to provide AI ethics. In IBM, we have been working with AI for a long time. You may remember Watson. We've been working with foundational models for many years before GPT appeared. And we have a methodology, and we have also Watson X, which is a capability that includes the capability of to govern data, AI, and a specific platform for AI governance. So this is key in our value proposition, and this is needed in order to be able to scale, to bring AI at the scale at any client.
So let's go on to a lighter question now. What does a typical day at IBM look like? You wake up in the morning and then?
Well, I wake up in the morning. If I can, I go to do some running. And then I normally go to the office. We can decide whether we want to work in the office or at home, but I prefer going to the office. I live not far from it. And I would say that in my case, that I am a client-facing person, to be as close as possible to the client. So most of my agenda tries to be having meetings with the client, working with them. That's key in order to have that level of trust and confidence that gives you the opportunity of providing those questions. You need to understand the why, and you cannot understand the why sitting on your office. You need to be in the client. I would say that's my way.
And how much of all your time is taken up by meetings then?
I would say that not enough time of client meetings and too much time of internal meetings.
Okay. What advice would you have for job seekers looking for a job in your industry?
keep updated. I mean, our world is changing very, very fast, and this is going to be faster and faster. So keep updated. That's the only advice I can give.
So you worked in multiple countries, Germany, Hungary, UK, Belgium, and Spain. How's your experience in all these countries influenced your approach to IT consultancy?
When working in those countries, you feel the multicultural diversity. I mean, you can feel at the same time they are very, very similar to you on the why, but they are somewhat different on the how and the what. Um, you also learn that having multicultural teams gives you a lot of power because it gives you different point of views on the same problem, even different definitions of the same problem, and you can provide much more value by adding all those different points of views. So it's a learning experience, and at the end of the day, it's what the most important thing you learn is that you need to respect every single culture in the world.
So how do you balance all of this learning and innovation with practical business needs and constraints?
I would say that's a challenge that every single leader in the world has, balancing the short term and the mid-long term. What I do with my teams is we work on an OKR framework. We have objectives for both short term and mid and long term, and we follow them. So we can make sure we are not forgetting not the short term and not the long term. You cannot only work on the long term because you will be out, and you cannot only work in the short term because you will be out of the business in some time. So you need to balance both.
So you mentioned earlier as well that it's a very rapidly changing industry that you're in. How do you stay ahead of all this rapidly evolving technology landscape to ensure your strategies remain relevant?
That was my advice to everyone. I have one advantage. I love what I do. So for me, reading and keeping updates, it's a kind of a hobby. But if you really want to learn something, you have to take the risk to jump into the scenario. You need to create your own presentation, to expose yourself, to explain it to the client, to another colleague, to I teach, for example, to teach to a class. Because if you read a book, you learn something, you get the ideas. But if you have to explain it yourself, then it will become yours. And this is the real way you can really learn.
What are your resources? Where do you learn everything? Like, are there particular newspapers? Are there networks? Where do you get your information from?
We have very, 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 very good information sources at IBM. We have Institute for Business Value that is a leading consultancy similar to McKinsey, for example. I read books. I read blogs. I listen to podcasts. And I try to learn as much as possible from the people I work with, from my client, from my team, from my bosses, and so on, from everyone. Having as much conversations as you can is the best way to learn.
So the final question for you is of a personal kind. What would you be doing in your life if not this?
That's a good question. I would say something similar. I don't have an answer.
Teaching, but you're already teaching.
Yeah, I'm already teaching. I love teaching. But I don't have a clear answer for that. Maybe teaching is my B plan. I am Marc Minguella. I'm the Elite Account Partner in IBM Consulting. Catch me on the Technologist of the Month show.